Now, the ANC National Executive Committee meets for the last time this year. Later today, the three-day virtual meeting is expected to discuss the political future of some party leaders facing criminal charges. It comes at a time when the party's Secretary-General Ace Magashule is facing criminal charges and is currently out on 200,000 rand bail. For some time, pressure has been mounting that Magashule be forced to step down as per the 2015 ANC National General Council step-aside resolution. Now, as the ANC's National Executive Committee, that's of course the NEC, enters its first day of a three-day meeting this Sunday, the issue of leaders facing charges in the courts is expected to be high on the agenda as the party continues to grapple with the contentious matter. Now, several of the party's leaders across the country, including former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede and ANC MP Bongani Bongo, are facing a raft of fraud and corruption charges. Now, to discuss this, we're joined via Zoom by political analyst Prof Barry Hanyane. Prof, welcome to SA Today. Now, in August, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa penned a letter which told members who had been formally charged with corruption and other serious crimes to immediately step aside from the party legislature and the government leadership positions pending finalization of those cases. That is what we'll see at the crosshairs come, well, the NEC meeting beginning today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the party is seized with serious problems internally. I've always held the view that until such time that the party is able to deal with its moral and integrity compass, but more so tightening up the loose grip from an ethical regime point of view internally, they will be unable to solve some of the ethical questions, as you rightly alluded. Three important prominent cases, that of the current SG, Mr. Bongo, Madam Gumede from KZN. For me, this is a total sign that internally and from a moral campus point of view, something is not gelling well within the ANC. There is no power given to the Integrity Committee. And by and large, there could be questions around the leadership integrity of the party itself.
The Integrity Committee itself, a lot of analysts, pundits such as yourselves, have always raised an eyebrow on it, saying, look, obviously nothing, surely nothing can come out of that Integrity Committee because it's the people judging themselves, basically, and this is where we are now, because at the end of the day, these people have all most likely been there. Some of them are going to go back there, and they've always been found not guilty, depending on the side of the sledge that they sit on, and because of the internal dynamics of if they go, then there might be bigger harm to the party.
Well, Tabiso, that's correct. But at the same time, I'm quite concerned about the pace, if not the lack of political will within the party to modernize itself. And central to such a modernization project is to rightly make sure that the structures are functioning, including branches, by the way. There is this talk that branches have power and therefore it's only branches that must take certain decisions, as alluded by the current SG, which I find it somewhat problematic when rightly so you have structures such as the Integrity Committee that must be capacitated fully to make sure that the constitution of the governing party is followed to the letter. This, unfortunately, has bred a lot of instances where powerful individuals who have connections and influence within the party can manipulate processes towards their favor and pretty much run the gauntlet without any kind of consequence whatsoever.
I mean, we're seeing in the battle for the party leadership, Ramaphosa supporters are said to be rallying obviously behind the moves to get Ace Magashule to step aside. They are preparing to raise a motion of obviously for Magashule to step aside. And on the other hand, Magashule is said to be, well, relying on legal opinion. We saw leaked documents, Phosa, that the ANC has no basis to call Magashule to step aside. Once again, coming back to the whole scenario, what do you do?
Tabisa, it's a very challenging situation for the leadership, more so for the president. But at the same time, let's not lose focus of the fact that here lies an NEC that is extremely divided. One might consider perhaps that the current SG might find comfort and friendship from the deputy, depending on circumstances. But when you look at the entire NEC, it's persons who are aligned to some kind of perspective, some kind of school of thought, some kind of faction as well. So the element of unity is at stake here, but more so the integrity of each person at a time when one of their own is facing serious charge before a court of law. It's going to be a difficult road going forward, and I suspect, speaking of spin doctoring, we are likely to see dirty political game being ensuing, at least in the next coming months, especially in the light of the next call for an NCG, which is it's going to be a political platform of division than anything else.
Already we're seeing reports, media reports saying, party sources say supporters of the Magashule faction, I'm going to call it that for the sake of this interview, to call for an early conference to decide the new leaders of the party. And once again, that brings the party in itself into a bit of a quagmire, isn't it? I mean, the past two leaders, none of them finished their term. Every single one of them getting, well, recalled, so to speak. So this mustn't sound good, not only for the party, for the followers, for the people who are the branch level, for the people who are backers of the political party. If you're not sure whether the people you voted in will last more than their 3 years in an office, then what's the point?
Yeah, no, the observation is that quite rightly within the ANC for a considerable amount of time, the politics of personality have characterized the way in which politics within the party is run. And I'm afraid this is an African dilemma and not necessarily an ANC South African situation. Be that as it may, it basically rebuffs what Ramaphosa stands for in terms of calling for unity. Earlier on, you mentioned the effort of writing an open letter to all ANC members, and from time to time calling for unity, calling for discipline. But until the party itself is reformed structurally, it's able to put in place robust internal processes and systems that deals with issues of discipline, of integrity, of putting the party first and not certain personalities. We are likely to see a divided ANC, and who knows, which could lead to a birth of another political party. Let's not shy away from noticing the fact that your so-called RET forces are already frustrated by the trajectory of politics within the party, and they might as well call it a day and try and persuade politics outside of the ANC. So there are permutations, but rightly so, we are beginning to see deeper fragmentations ideologically as well as institutionally.
Now, here's a question I'm going to pose at you, Prof. We've seen the leaked report by the former ANC Treasurer-General and respected ANC stalwart Dr. Matthew Sponser in the 11-page legal opinion to the ANC saying that, well, it's obviously unconstitutional according to the ANC's constitution anyway to get Magashule to step aside. Then we've got that question of the separation of powers where we always come to the center of when we deal in these things with the leading party. Here you have a president of the republic as well who wants to run a clean government, who expects ministers or anyone who's accused of anything to step aside, let the law take its course. Then he's got the internal politics of the ANC, and already legal opinion within the ANC constitution says, but no, you can't just fire the SG or let him step aside. It's a brain freeze if you're sitting there for the president of South Africa and the president of the ANC and the head of the African Union, isn't it?
Well, bar consideration of the legal imperatives, obviously influenced by the ANC's own constitution, the expectation is that as a leader, you would then take it upon yourself to apply a measure of discretion, which can be used as a trait, as a reflection of your own leadership, to say, willingly, I want to step aside, allow due process to follow, without necessarily being persuaded by legal prescripts. This would be an ideal situation. This would demonstrate total leadership, strong leadership that must be embraced across the political spectrum, in this instance, within the ANC's political space. But rightly, Mr. Ace Magashule has his own kind of decision to take. Does he follow the prescripts within the ANC, or does he take it upon himself to demonstrate strong leadership? And this is in line with your unwritten rules as part of the broader democratic process. It may bring forth, as you rightly put it, some kind of confusion, but from where I'm sitting, some kind of leadership can be demonstrated outside of your constitutional prescripts within the governing party.
Yeah, Prof Barry Hanyane, we'll wait and see what comes out of this three-day NEC meeting. Thank you indeed for joining us. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Insightful, as usual, your commentary. And we could sit here the whole day and discuss this matter. Unfortunately, we've got other news to go through.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Now,